Okay, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being part of this class. I'm really excited to spend the next couple weeks with you learning more about what it is that you want to do. And I appreciate those of you who've already had a chance to go in to the discussion board and write some information about your business ideas and where you are in the process, because it helps me understand what it is that you all want to get out of this course. And if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, we'll talk kind of through some of the specifics in a minute about assignments and whatnot. But if you haven't had a chance to do that, if you could do that as soon as possible, go to the discussion board on the Canvas website and write in, what you know thus far about your business idea. I really want to make sure that this class is tailored to each of you and to the goals that you have and what you want to get out of this course. So that helps me because I can then shift things around as needed based off of the needs of all of you. So let's, sorry, I've got my notes right here. I'm going to be checking back and forth on my notes, make sure I get everything covered. So first and foremost, I actually probably should have started off with an introduction. I'm Jennifer Lewis. Sorry about that. I am Jennifer Lewis. I am the founder of smallfoodbiz.com, which is a food resource website. I believe it was the very first food resource website out there. It's been up and running for 5 years now. The entire goal of it is to provide food entrepreneurs like yourself with information and resources and tools to help you run small businesses. And the reason that I started it is that I have a culinary background. I also have an MBA from Kellogg School of Management. And after I finished up my MBA, I had already worked as a pastry chef for a number of years. I actually ended up starting up my own small food business. And I was working in a kitchen incubator, and we'll be talking about the different types of facilities you can work in next week. But I was working in a kitchen incubator and found that in addition to producing my own product, I also loved talking to the other entrepreneurs. And sometimes I would argue I sometimes enjoyed talking to the other entrepreneurs even more. I just loved to brainstorm with them. I loved to find out what everybody was doing, what was working, what wasn't working. And the one thing that I kept hearing over and over again was the fact that there simply wasn't information out there for food entrepreneurs. There's a ton of information that's out there available for small entrepreneurs, small business owners. But the food world, as many of you have realized already, we have our own very set of crazy rules and regulations that don't apply to everybody else, just how we keep track of inventory, how you food costing, all of that. So our world is a little bit different than, let's say, your average tech entrepreneur. And so that was the premise behind the site. And so I was really honored when Portland State University asked me to do this course for all of you. They've had a very successful beer brewing course. I know we've got one student who is already enrolled in that as well. They've done a phenomenal job with that, and they wanted to then add this component on as well for all the food entrepreneurs out there. So in terms of the goals of this course, and again, these goals are going to morph based off of the feedback that I get from you, and that's one thing that I want to make sure that each of you knows, that my syllabus is flexible. I really want to make sure that you all that the time that you're spending here is being used wisely, it's being used to your advantage, and that it's really moving you forward in your business planning process, or in your business process if you already have a product that you've created or you already have a concept that's in action. So loosely, the goals of this course, though, really are to provide you with both some of the general information. Some of these live seminars, we're going to be talking a little bit more generally about some of the things you need to know about food entrepreneurship, but then also to be able to provide you with more one-on-one help. And give me a second, I'll come back to that. The other big goal of this course for me is to create a community around each of us, so that you feel that you have people that you can bounce ideas off of, you feel that you have people you can brainstorm with, ask for help if you've got questions, so that hopefully it's not just me who's always delivering the information, but I really invite all of you to partake in our discussions. Many of you have very diverse backgrounds, so maybe we'll be talking about marketing and you have experience in marketing. Please share that with us. I learn from it when you do that, but so does everybody else. Talk on the discussion boards, not only about the assignments that are on the discussion boards, but if you have questions, if you have ideas, if you need help, throw them up there. And, I would really encourage each of you to communicate via those discussion boards so that we can create this community, because ultimately that, the rising tide carries all boats theory, by having this strong community around us, it's going to make each of your businesses that much more successful. It's just so often in entrepreneurship, small entrepreneurship especially, you feel like it's only you out there. And the biggest goal of this course is both the information that you're going to gain from this course, but also so that you feel like you're not alone, so you feel like you have a community around you supporting you. So in terms of quickly some of the basics of this program, and by program I do mean kind of the Canvas layout program, you should have all received a link that talks about some of the logistics about how to utilize the Canvas program. If you haven't received that, or if you did receive it and you still have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to make sure that, I know for some folks the online format is a brand new format to be learning from, and so want to make sure that you don't fall behind because of the technology piece. So if you have any questions, let us know. The way that the course is set out is so that essentially we've broken this down into 3 to 4 week segments. In total, there are 15 weeks in the certificate program. We're in the first 4 weeks right now. In between each of the 3 to 4 weeks, one of the courses is 3 weeks. In between each of those, there's a slight break in between. And then we've also decided to take the summer off. And there was a lot of back and forth on should we go straight through the summer or not. But ultimately what we decided is that we knew we would have some people coming to this course who already had businesses up and running, and so might be really busy with farmers markets and with festivals and that type of stuff in the summer. Alternatively, we also know that summer is kind of a really hard time to nail people down and say, okay, for the next 4 weeks, we're expecting you to turn in assignments and we're expecting you to be able to be online for these live seminars. With everybody's travel schedules and holidays and everything else, we just figured that summer was going to be a little bit too crazy, and we want to make sure that each of you feels like you're not only getting the attention from me that you need and that you deserve, but that you're also getting the attention from one another, like I said, so we can go back, so we can be building this community. So each week you will have weekly readings and videos, and those are meant to complement what we're talking about in the live seminar. So each week loosely has a theme. This week's theme, we're talking about vision, we're talking about business plan, and in sort of the 40 minutes to an hour that we have tonight, I can only cover so much material. So the rest of that material, going much more in depth, is in the readings and in the videos. I don't expect you to do all those readings and watch all those videos by Wednesday night, by the time we have this live seminar. Loosely everything is expected to be done by Sunday night. So don't feel frantic like you have to get everything done before we have this seminar. If you have a chance to, that's wonderful, but it's not required. Also, you will have weekly assignments, and those will take the form of mainly discussions to be posted onto the discussion board, and or also written assignments that to be turned into me. My goal is that those assignments are into me by 9 o'clock on Sunday, and the reason that I put that deadline on there is because I plan to spend all day Monday reviewing them, and I want to be able to return those back to you by, I'll say end of day Monday. It might be midnight, but it will be end of day Monday. That is my goal for all the assignments, so that you get quick feedback. Now, if you turn in something before Sunday, I also have booked time on Fridays to be looking at material, so you might get it returned sooner than that. But also, if you turn something in and you really want feedback immediately, just shoot me a note and I will absolutely make the time to do it. So don't worry about that. When I review stuff and when I return it to you, I'm going to be asking questions. My job is to ask the hard questions and to push you in your business thinking as you think about your business model, your business concept. So what I'm going to be doing is bringing up lots of questions. At no point does it mean that I don't think your idea is viable, but like I said, my job is to push that envelope for you. So in addition to the assignments and weekly readings and videos, videos, and I should mention there are readings, the required weekly readings, and then you'll also see there's a recommended readings tab, and that actually has readings and videos. And that, again, if you find yourself with additional time, that is additional material that you might find helpful. And some of it are TEDx videos that I've come across. And when it is a video, I will tell you whether it's 20 minutes, 6 minutes, so that you can plan accordingly with your schedule. Also, as we talk about the weekly readings and videos and assignments, just so you know, next week's material will be released tomorrow. I know that everyone has really busy lives. A lot of you are working full-time jobs in addition to taking this course. So I want to give you as much time as possible to do the readings and do the assignments and whatnot on your own time frame. So you haven't seen that material yet. It will be coming out tomorrow. Let's see. Office hours. So one of your homework assignments for this week is to schedule office hours with me. The office hours, I've put it in the schedule so that they're 20 minutes, but I've blocked out 45 minutes. So when you go in to make the office hour appointment, it's actually all done online. You click a link, and it's actually going to take you to a third-party website, and that third-party website integrates with my calendar, and both my personal calendar and my work calendar, and so it's able to see, am I free at the times that you're looking at, and so it will only give you selections where I'm free. I put it in as 45 minutes because I want to make sure that we have enough time to discuss. The first office hours is a chance for me to get to know you one-on-one. So whether it's via phone, whether it's via Skype, it's a chance for us to interact and really start to build a connection and build a relationship. Like I said, though, if you only have 20 minutes, I know many of you are really busy. I'm going to completely respect that you only have 20 minutes. But by the same token, don't feel like you only have 20 minutes to talk. And this is not the only time you can reach out to me for office hours. Whenever you have other questions, whether it's during this course, whether it's the intermediate weeks between this course and the next course, you are always welcome to email me with any questions. You're also always free to, and then I would encourage you, set up another office hours time. Like, let's get on Skype and let's talk one-on-one. Sometimes that's the easiest way to resolve questions or concerns that you have or whatever it may be, is just to do that one-on-one rather than email back and forth. So I encourage you to do that. And then lastly, I've said this before, but the goal of this course is really to connect and create this community. And so I really do encourage you to connect on those discussion boards. More than just the assignments that are being assigned, but if somebody comments on something and you have experience that you want to add, you talk to them. In the discussion board, you can actually be replying to folks. So I encourage you to start conversations, to have conversations with one another, not simply around what I have outlined as discussion topics, but anything that may come to mind. Maybe you're looking for kitchen space in Denver, Colorado. We only have one student that I know of thus far who's from Denver, Colorado, but you have no idea who else in the class may have friends who are in the Denver, Colorado area and who may know of kitchen space that's available. Let's network. Let's make this happen. So I encourage you to put stuff on there. So before I jump into tonight's lecture, are there any questions? Feel free to yell them out or type them into the chat bar. Okay, it's kind of quiet. So I am going to go ahead and move on to tonight's lecture. Here we go. Sorry, again, got to make sure the notes are all situated right. So, as I mentioned earlier, throughout this course, we're working through the pieces of starting and running a successful food business. Now, I know some of you have already taken steps towards that, and I know some of you may even have a product already. So we're all at a little bit different points, and some of us are looking at food trucks, some are specialty food products, some might be a home-based business. So we're all a little bit different. But in the next both 4 weeks and ultimately, if you're with us for the full 15 weeks, what we're working towards doing is creating a really solid business plan. And I know that Sean has actually already created a business plan, and that's wonderful. However, Sean, you're still going to benefit from this course. And that's because we are going to be taking a look at, any questions that may have come up as you write this plan. Anything that, through the accompanying reading videos for each week, we go into more detail about the different pieces of the business plan and make sure that your plan is really set in stone. Because with that plan, you are then able to either start your business, feel comfortable about starting your business, or you're able to take your business to the next level if your business is already up and running. I believe that a business plan, one of the most important things that a business plan does is that it tests assumptions about what you think is going to happen. And it makes you take a hard look at your business model and business idea. And again, one of the things that I'm going to be doing as we work through these pieces is I'm going to be challenging your assumptions. I'm also going to be challenging your business model. And I'm going to potentially ask you to think broader than you might initially be thinking. If you're thinking that you want to sell via one venue, I might ask you, well, what about X, Y, and Z? Doesn't mean that all of those are good, but I want to make sure that you've thought through all of those, because there's nothing stopping you from selling through multiple channels if that's what you decide to do. Too often entrepreneurs go into startup mode with pie-in-the-sky ideas or dreams about what's going to happen. I'm sure you have all been there. You're up late at night, really excited about your idea. There's no way this idea can fail. Well, a business plan is your opportunity to take those ideas for a test run before you've actually invested a significant amount of time and money into running this business. And if you find out through the process of creating this business plan, with us over the next couple of weeks, that the business model you originally anticipated isn't necessarily going to work out, doesn't pencil out the way that your gut thought it would, it doesn't mean that all is lost. All that means is that you simply look for weaknesses in the plan, or weaknesses in the business model and make revisions from there so that when you actually do launch your business, you're on the strongest possible foundation and ready to overcome any obstacles that, truthfully will undoubtedly come into your way. There is no entrepreneur who has never run into an obstacle. But the good entrepreneurs are those who can figure out ways around them and figure out how to get over them and keep their business moving forward. So the business plan, it's going to test your assumption about the following things. Mainly, it's testing your assumptions about the following things. It's going to make sure that you have demonstrated that there's a market need. And how is your product, your service, your company going to meet that need? It also makes sure that you have a clear understanding of the market dynamics, including who your competitors are. And in a couple weeks, we're going to be doing a competitive analysis. There's also information on this week's reading, the Plate of the Union report, about what's going on in the food world and in the economy and the way that it impacts the food world. So this is all stuff that the business plan is making sure that you have thought through and that you understand. And then lastly, and I will apologize right now, but you are going to hear me talking about target market like 100 ways till Sunday, because you as a food entrepreneur have to have a very clear understanding of who your target market is. If you don't know who is going to be buying your products and you don't understand why they're going to be buying your products, you're not going to be able to convince them to buy your products. And so a business plan is making sure that you have done the homework and you've done your research and you have a clear understanding of who that target market is. Now, I know in this first week I have asked for a business concept from you. I'll show you an example, a short example of what I'm looking for in a minute. I am not looking that you have done all of this homework yet. This is stuff that we're going to be working through in the next coming weeks. So don't sit here and panic and say, I haven't done any research about the target market yet, because I promise you I'm not looking for that yet. In a couple weeks, we're going to go into much more detail about target market and how to figure out who they are and how to do research about it. So, as I mentioned earlier, the business model or the business plan questions all your assumptions, but also that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be questioning any assumption that you make in your business model. That is my job. I promise you it does not mean that something is incorrect or that it's bad, but my job is to question and to say, well, how did you make this assumption? Why did you make this assumption? Do you feel confident backing this assumption up? So be prepared to back up your assumptions about stuff. any assumptions you ultimately do have to make, because there is a piece of entrepreneurship where you're always just going to have faith and, take a leap and hope that you grow wings on the way down and they catch you. Nothing will be 100% set in stone. But when you do make assumptions, as we work through the business plan and through your thinking in the next couple of weeks, highlight, okay, this was an assumption. Here is why I had an assumption. I may not necessarily be able to back that up just yet, but here's the logic behind why I made this assumption. I totally understand that you're a small business, that you do not have a research department at your disposal necessarily, that you do not necessarily have a budget of $1 million to do research like the big companies do. So I'm not expecting you to go into that level of detail that those guys can do. However, I will be presenting you with resources that are available to you that you can find out more information about who your target market is, what's going on in the market economy, what your competitors are doing. I'll provide you with free or very inexpensive resources so that you feel comfortable doing as much homework as you possibly can on these aspects of your business plan. So over the course of these first 4 weeks, we're really working to develop the business overview section of the business plan. If you took a look at kind of how we broke the four sessions down, we're doing business overview. I will note, as part of business overview, we're also going to be talking about business licenses and permits and where to produce your product, that type of stuff as well. We're going to spend a lot of time next week on that. And then the second 4 weeks, we're actually going into finances. So we're going to spend 4 weeks getting really deep into the finances of your business. And then we work on the marketing aspect, and then we work on sales and distribution. So in the next 4 weeks, or this week plus the next 3, we're working to develop the business overview. And this is where you demonstrate to yourself and to potential investors, if you decide to take this plan out for traditional investment. And by that, I don't mean Kickstarter. I am very pro Kickstarter, but you aren't going to have to showcase a business plan as part of Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of the crowdfunding sites. But if you take it out for traditional investment, the business overview is where you are demonstrating that you know what it is that you want to do and that you've done your homework to understand that there is a market for this product and for a company like yours. So in the business overview, it is things as simple as what's your company name, what type of products are you intending to sell, and then some of the things we talked about. Who's your target market? What's the market opportunity? What are some of the trends that are happening in this market? What's going on with the economy that might impact your sales opportunities? So I'm going to segue slightly here because it's also in the kind of this first week, there's sort of a lot of nuts and bolts that are getting covered. And one of those nuts and bolts that I want to cover is just the idea of business organization. And I realize that sounds very elementary and very simplistic, but I promise you, as a small entrepreneur, as you not only get more in depth in the business plan and in this course, but as you start to apply for business permits and health permits, if you haven't done so already, you are going to become absolutely inundated with paperwork. So the earlier that you can get organized in your business, the better. Because as a small entrepreneur, you ultimately are going to be wearing like 800 different hats. Even if you end up having a small staff working for you, there's always more that needs to be done than you have time for. And implementing an organizational system now is only going to help you in the long run. It will only make it will make your life sane. I don't care what organizational system you use, whatever works best for you, as long as it's not the like, I'm just going to let stuff pile up on the dining room table method of organization. Figure out something that you are going to keep product ideas that you have, that you're going to keep your business licenses, your health permit, copies of safe food handling certificates. As you go and look at potential kitchens, if you're looking to rent kitchen space, or you go talk to co-packers, that you keep all this information. Make sure that you have a place to hold everything. It really will make your life easier in the long run. And speaking of getting organized, now is the time to determine what accounting system you're going to be using to keep track of your business books. In fact, actually, the first question you need to be asking, you may not have an answer to this yet, but it's something that you need to be thinking about now, is when it comes to keeping your accounting books, who is going to be keeping the books? Are you going to be doing it, or are you going to hire a bookkeeper to do it? There is no right or wrong here, but it's a decision that you have to make. If you are sitting there saying, the last thing I want to be doing in my life is keeping my accounting books in order, then I recommend go out and start researching a good bookkeeper who is familiar with food businesses in your area in a price point that you're comfortable with. You might not hire them right now, but at least have that person on the back burner so that when you're ready to go, you can start working with them. If you decide that you want to be keeping your books, then I ask you to start taking a look at what type of accounting system, accounting software do you want to be using. I have 3 examples here. They're kind of the 3 biggest for small business, but this is certainly not the end-all be-all of small business accounting books. But go out, start doing some research, figure out what their features are, figure out how they might work for you, figure out price points. And then if you haven't, if you've decided that you want to keep your own books, but you don't have familiarity with QuickBooks or Xero or FreshBooks, and you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with it, look to see, can you take classes? It could be something as simple as like a free YouTube video on how to use FreshBooks. I know FreshBooks has a number of those free videos out there for you to view. You can take QuickBooks classes, like QuickBooks for Small Business classes, through libraries, through community colleges. Make sure that you feel comfortable. When it comes to running a small business, your books are the absolute bedrock. Making sure that everything that's being inputted is being inputted correctly. Even if you're not actually doing your taxes and you're having an accountant do your taxes, and I'll talk later in the weeks about how an accountant, I think, is kind of the best hire you can ever make. But making sure that you have a system in place of how you're going to keep your books, how often are you going to be updating the books? Is it going to be daily, weekly? I wouldn't recommend necessarily more than weekly. And make sure you understand what is counted as a business deduction or a business expense and what's not. I am not an accountant. I am not a CPA, so I'm not going to make recommendations to you on what should be considered a business expense and what shouldn't be considered a business expense in finite detail. But I do recommend that if you have questions, figure out now in whether your circle of friends, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to put you in touch with CPAs. If you have questions, make sure that your accounting books are in order from day one. And then similarly, because we were just talking about accounting systems, depending on what your business idea is and how you're thinking of implementing it, and like I said, everybody's doing a little bit differently, now is also the time to start researching other potential systems that are going to make your life easier. We'll talk about what some of these other systems are down the road, but things like, how are you planning to receive email communication to and from your business? It could be as simple as a Gmail account. You can have a Gmail account which has your business, it could be at yourbusiness.com. It is possible to do that all through Gmail. And again, happy to share that information with you. Just reach out and ping me if you have questions about that. But figure out, how am I going to be receiving email, to and from my business? Look into your options now. Again, you might actually not be purchasing any of these systems now, you might not be implementing any of them now, but just to know that they're there, know how much they cost, all of that is going to be helpful as you build your business. Another one of those is I know we've got a couple folks who are interested in food trucks. What's your point of sale? So how are you going to be running transactions, credit card transactions, where you definitely need to be mobile? It could be something, it could be Square. Square works wonderfully. What are Square's rates? How is that going to impact your prices? Understanding those pieces. You might not have all the answers now, but just at least knowing, okay, I plan to use Square, or I think I'm going to use Square, and I know what their rates are. Now, in the next 4 weeks, as you start to develop your prices, we can make sure that your prices are taking that into account so that you're still profitable after that transaction fee has been accounted for. Let's see, checking my notes really quickly. That was what? So quickly to review. So in this first week, some of you know because you've already watched the videos and done the reading, and totally understand if you haven't done it. It's not a requirement by Wednesday night. But we've been focused on, in this first week, talking about developing a long-range vision plan, and then from that outlining your main business goals. And so business goals being your 1 year out, what do you want to accomplish in the next 12 months, and then narrow those down to the top 3 goals that you're actually that you're actually going to be working towards in the next 12 months. From there, we're going to be able to, once we have that down, we're going to be able to, over the next several weeks, develop and start testing the business model to make sure, with as much certainty as we can, that it's going to work as you have planned. In terms of assignments for this week I'm asking you to introduce yourself on the discussion board, as I mentioned, and also to introduce your business idea. I will say right now, and I do have it written down, that I would like everybody to respect confidentiality of our other colleagues' ideas, and going beyond just this discussion topic, but any discussion topics that are posted and any interactions that we have, I expect them all to be respectful to one another, but by the same token, I would ask you all to keep it confidential. I want the discussion boards to feel like they are a safe place for you to ask questions, to get feedback, to brainstorm, and so therefore I ask you to maintain confidentiality of what any of your other colleagues may have said. So yourself and your business idea on the discussion board, to sign up for office hours with me, to share with me your vision plan and your business goals, and a brief write-up about what it is that your business will be doing. And so by the brief write-up, this is the business concept assignment that I had, that I've written about. You might have had a chance to take a look at it. What I'm looking for there is I'm looking for you to put down anything that you know about your business thus far. It could be I just have this idea and I'm developing recipes right now. It could be I've downloaded all the paperwork for my permits, but I haven't moved forward beyond that. It could be, you know, I'm currently operating this business. This is where I'm selling. This is the channels I'm selling through. But share with me where you are. And again, this is stuff that we're going to be talking about when we have our one-on-one office hours. And this business concept I mentioned, it will morph. It is going to become part of that business overview that I was talking about as we talk about, you know, what is your company, what is it that you're planning to do. So a lot of the things that we're working on, you will see them morph over the coming weeks, and they are intended to morph. You will never be penalized because because you change your business model or because you change aspects of your business model along the way. That is the entire point of this class. So don't feel like anything needs to be set in stone right now, because you know the whole point of this is to get things tweaked and get things moving in the right direction. So here, I promise this is just a super short example. It's short just for space. You don't have to be this short. You can go on much longer if you have more information. But as you can see, I encourage you to put in, you know, as much detail as you currently have thought out about your business model. The business model or this company description, this is going to change. Let's see. I have one other slide that I want to share with you before we end the night. And you're going to see, I'm actually going to try and do this every week. I'm going to try and end with some probably highly geeky quote, but it's meant to motivate you. So to finish out our first live seminar today, I thought that this quote summed up pretty well some of our focus this week when you look at the readings and the video. You know, I am the first to admit that I am very pro-capitalist, so I am not saying that you necessarily have to have a social mission behind your business unless you choose to, and if you choose to, that's wonderful. But I do believe that if you're starting a business, you should be looking to make it a profitable business, whether it ends up being profitable for you or being profitable for a social cause. But I pause and I remind you that money necessarily isn't the only goal, and that you need to take stock of your entire life and what you'd like your life to look like with this business as being part of it, and then develop your vision plan with that in mind, because from there we're going to be able to create a business model that's going to help you move towards that life that you actually want. So that brings me to the end for today. See, are there any questions that anybody has right now about anything? Or just general questions? Everybody's so quiet. You have to promise me you can't be this quiet going forward. Okay, you'll get a pass for tonight since it's the first class. But I really do recommend, or not recommend, I really do hope that in coming weeks this becomes more of a dialogue. I know tonight there was a lot of nuts and bolts, like I said, but my goal is for this to be not just me sitting lecturing here, but to have this be a dialogue and exchange of ideas between all of us. So as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I am never far from this phone, so you are always welcome to reach out to me, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can, I promise. So again, thank you so much for joining our first live seminar, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.